Hey guys, I'm Chad Hoover. Welcome to today's video where I'm going to give you a full walkthrough of the Bonafide PWR 129 with all of my updated rigging, suggestions on why you should choose this boat, my overview on performance, stability, comfort, and all the other things you need to think about when purchasing a fishing kayak. All right guys, so what we're going to do is we're literally just going to run bow to stern. I'm going to talk about the upgrades that I've made. I'm going to talk about some stuff that I did to the boat that I then took off the boat so you don't have to make those same mistakes. Starting right up front, one of the things that I like to do is tow my boat up and down hills, drag it through the woods, do all of that crazy stuff with it, and the stock handle just does not stand up to that abuse. In fact, this thing will rip out pretty easily once you get these boats loaded down very heavy, and when you put it on a trailer, you just need a little bit more reinforcement. So I put this plate up on the front to give me that extra stability, that extra strength that's bolted through here, and then tied into the two places where the strap for the paddle comes stock. And then I've got the ability to put a bow mount. I've got the ability to put a power pole mount on the front. Just gives me a lot of flexibility. I like to hook my Rogue ADS strap to the front of it. It just makes it easy when I'm out on the water, basically managing my boat position. Coming on back, I did a couple of modifications to my hatch. First and foremost, I put a Mighty Mount XL on here so I can mount my camera mount and keep it kind of out of the way and not have it banging on my graph and things like that. And then I mounted my 0.1 for my graph. I'll do a full walkthrough of why I did the stuff that I did with my electronics, but what I did is inside of the hatch, because of this redesign of this hatch, it gives me a lot of space underneath here to make use of that empty space. So I've got my nav lights installed, I've got my Nemia connector system, and I got everything routed, and then I basically tied everything together, ran it down the side, and the folks over at One Objective make these nice bulkheads. So I mounted a terminal here so I can tie all my stuff together. I put the YakPower control box here that ties into the YakPower controller that I'll show you in just a second. I got a Dakota Lithium 54 amp hour battery, 12 volt, 54 amp. This thing has run 3 or 4 days of as hard as I could push it fishing. I've also got it connected to here so I can run my camera. I've got the ability to charge my cell phone. I can run my lights for night fishing. Really just gives me a nice clean system. And what I did is I mounted the One Objective forward bulkhead to basically connect the battery to, and it gives me another couple of places to mount some electrical accessories. So that's pretty much the bow setup. What I also did is I took off the power link plate. I've got one SAE connector here so I can mount, you know, bow fishing lights or other accessories, things that I want to run on there. It's kind of my little auxiliary plug. I mounted the YakPower controller on here that allows me to have the ability to control my lights and all the different things that I put on the boat. My graph power, my camera power, and then my rear facing lights, so when I want to film at night. And it's all conveniently right here. And I put it in the center power link so that at night when I'm fishing, it is backlit, but it's hidden behind my graph and behind my Yak Attack track pack, so that way it doesn't blind me when I don't want to see it. I've got a couple of mounts here for playing with different configurations. This one holds my paddle when I'm standing up. It also holds my leverage landing net when I'm using the leverage landing net. Coming on back, I actually used the same mount system, the same pod from my SS127. All I did is mounted the transducer stock to the bottom of the pod, mounted a Yak Attack, another Mighty Mount XL, and then the Yak Attack Lowrance graph mount, and it works out really nice. One of the things that over the years people have kind of complained about with the Yak Attack mounts is they're a little bit wobbly, but what I have figured out is that if you use this track pack and you use the little nifty handy dandy handle that's included with it, you can stick it up under there, and it actually gives you a nice cool spot to stow the lures that you're going to use the most, and it kind of stabilizes the graph and the pod. So I don't think I'm going to make a lot of adjustments to this, but I do know that the folks over at Catch and OPS have a really slick design up their sleeve that's going to debut in a couple of weeks, and I'm probably going to take this pod out and use that system for a completely new configuration, at least until I figure out if I like it or not. I like to mount my throttle in the middle because I inadvertently end up hitting it too much when I have it off to one side or the other. I can put my kill switch right on my PFD. If I stand up, it automatically kills it. If I do want to run it while I'm standing up, I just take that little bit of slack out. Then I can cruise along. And because this boat has a catamaran style hull that you're accustomed to with Bonafide, I can actually stand up, set the motor on a slow setting, put my feet right up against the pedals, and I can just put a little bit of weight on one foot or the other and actually drive the boat standing up. One of the big advantages of a bow mount, which you guys will see when we do a walkthrough of Austin's kayak in a couple of weeks, is it gives you that ability to stand up and control your boat while you're standing up. I've actually figured out a pretty cool way to do that with my stern-mounted Torqeedo, and I'm just a big fan of a stern-mounted motor because it allows me to go through shallower water. I don't run into stuff and come to an abrupt stop. It kind of kicks up and I run over the top of it. And for right now, I have 2 of these track mounts for the track packs because I originally had my Anchor Wizard right here, but because I haven't been using it for the last couple of trips, I threw the 2 track packs on there so I can start playing around with figuring out where I truly want to have my 2nd or 3rd track pack. They work really great down here in the junk drawer. They work really great right here on top of the pod, and then it's awesome to have the ability to stick one on top of the Blackpack short stack, but we'll talk about that when we get a little further back. Honestly, I didn't do a whole lot of modifications to the Cockpit other than the fact that I added the longer cord for steering. We'll talk about when we get back to the back of the boat and we talk about how I set up my Torqeedo and my power pole in line. Other than that, I added a nice comfortable kayak cushion to the seat, and then I originally put a double header right here for my paddle that I'm a big fan of on all my other kayaks, but because of the way that this hull kind of slopes down, it ended up where the nose of the paddle or the forward blade would catch the water, especially in rough water. So what I ended up doing is going to 2 side arms, 2 paddle roto grips, and then I have the ability to click my power pole in right here to run it parallel to it, and that has worked out a lot better. It's easier to grab, it's more stable, and then all I did is took a little bungee cord, tied a loop in it, and then I take the tab and I can just stick that over that wheel when I'm ready to go down the road, or if I don't want that thing to inadvertently get kicked out of the mount. And that makes it nice and secure, and it's just a little simple piece of bungee with a knot tied in it, and I leave the tag ends on there so I can grab it and pull on it. It's a lot easier when you actually do it from the cockpit. Didn't do much else with the power link underneath the seat. I really haven't figured out a good use for those because they're kind of in an awkward position. One of them you're not going to be able to use with the seat the way it is unless you have like 90-degree connectors are coming out. I might add some lights or USB for charging my phone or something further down the road. But as of right now, I haven't used the power link on the left side of the boat or the one underneath the seat. And really all I've done to the seat is add the kayak cushion, and I've added this sideline bag. And the sideline bag, I mean, this thing is awesome because I can take it off of one boat, move it to the other boat, and I got all my tools, spare plastics, hooks, line cutter, leader material, Torqeedo prop wrench. It just makes it like an extension of stuff I used to keep in my PFD, and since I've tried to lighten up my PFD, I've really become a big fan of this bag. This thing is awesome. Coming on back, I've got the Blackpack Pro from the folks at YakAttack, and man, one of the best upgrades I've ever made to anything I've ever done is this freaking short stack. And I'll be straight up with you. When the track packs first came out, I didn't think it was going to be something I used. Now, I can't imagine living without them because I have reorganized all of my gear into these track packs. I'll do a full walkthrough of the Blackpack in a separate video, but I'll tell you, man, having this stuff right at the top that's quick grab lures, you know, your crossover pliers, a radio, your box with a first aid kit in it, box with spare lures in it. You can actually put 2 side by side and still have room for the VisiCarbon Pro down the side, but I have really become a huge fan of the short stack. Now, what that also allows me to do is free up a lot of space underneath the primary part of the Blackpack, and that allows me to have 2 more of these track packs in here that are connected together. They're connected together just like so, and if I put the handle on the top, makes it really easy to reach back and grab them. But I decided I like that handle better up on the front. Got 1 extra small tackle box. I've got some dude wipes. I've got 1 terminal tackle box from Plano. Got my bottled water. And I've got a Dakota Lithium 12 volt, 25 amp hour battery that I secured to the back wall with the little knot dividers. And then I put a USB port on the back of it. I went real simple with 3 rod holders on each side. I put the back rod holders a little higher, as you can see, so I can put my longest rods with the longest handles in the back. Like I talked about when I was talking about the battery, I actually put a USB port right here. Just ordered it off of Amazon. I'll link it up in the description box. Run my power cord to that. I can turn the battery on and off. I actually just leave that battery in the crate, and when I take it home, I just plug it in and hook it up right to the Blackpack. It charges it. I put a Gridlock Mighty mount on the top with a lock and load base so that I can film over the top. And then I put a 90-degree mount with another grid lock with another base so that I can put it on there and kick it off to the side to get those different and unique angles. One thing that I forgot to mention as I was coming back is my Torqeedo battery just literally sits right in the space where that was designed for the battery, right there behind the seat. It will also fit up to a 3660 Dakota lithium battery and is plenty of space. And because this tank well is so big, even with a stern mounted motor, you can put your battery in the back and it's not going to squat because there's just so much volume to this kayak. Or you can put your bow mount on the front, run your wiring internally, come out of your power link plate, and then connect it to the battery so that you can balance the load out a little bit more if you have that bow mount. I'm a huge fan of this dude right here. Like, honestly, in the spring, when fronts are coming through, in the summer, when you've always got these random storms, and just being able to manage boat position in current and wind, the power pole micro anchor is invaluable. I've got the key fob attached right to my PFD, so when I'm standing up, I can drift along, I can drop it down, I can pinpoint sight cast to fish, I can cover water, I can pop it up, let the wind blow me a little bit further, pop it back down. It's just really invaluable when it comes to boat position management, especially when you're shallow water sight casting in the spring. And honestly, one thing that people overlook is the power pole micro anchor is also a really great drift anchor. So if you're out in deeper water, deeper than the pole, put that thing about 2-3 feet down in the water and it's going to slow your drift down. And the more pole you put in the water, the more it'll slow you down. So I use this as a deep water drift anchor and helps, you know, control boat position as much as I use it as a shallow water anchor. You'll notice that I've got a custom plate right here. This custom plate was designed by the folks at Kayak so that I could put my power pole in line with my motor and not lose 3 or 4 inches by going with the mount that I've used forever, which is the Innovative Sportsman rugged inline mount. Still a great mount, and if you're not anchoring in deeper water and if you don't mind losing that little bit of pole length, that also makes a great option. What I like about this motor is, or about this setup for my motor, is it allows me to have positions to really dial in my motor performance. So I've got 4 different positions that I can set the motor back, and the performance that I'm getting out of this versus the stock mount mounted directly to where the power pole goes is I get about 15 or 20% more speed at my weight and my load out. And I think that's worth the extra length. What it also does is puts the motor a little further back, so when I'm sitting in the boat, it's a little further back, and when I go over something, the angle's better to kick up over logs and stumps and things like that, and it really allows me to get through shallow stuff a lot easier. When it's up close to the boat, that hull has a tendency to build up gunk right between the motor and the hull, and so by putting that motor a little further back and then having the ability to just raise it up and kick some of that stuff off there, it just allows me to get through shallow water vegetation like it's almost not there. So I'll show you real quick what I did here. Is went to Ace Hardware, I just got a couple of eye bolts and I put them in the existing holes that are on the Torqeedo mount. I ran this underneath the mount, and this is the stock steering that comes with the PWR 129 from Bonafide, but I replaced the cord so I have a little bit of extra length, and then I rolled up a bunch of extra onto my steering pedal system that is, again, included on this boat stock. To raise and lower the motor, I used the center line, which was the rudder raising and lowering. I actually just completely removed the rudder. When we do the walkthrough of Austin's boat, he'll show you how he came up with a way to take the rudder on and off, because he's going to use a bow mount some and a stern mount. But for me, I just took the rudder completely out. I used the center rudder cable, and I just used the stock pull to raise and lower the motor. So basically right here next to the seat, it's easy to reach down and feel it. You pull that and it just raises the motor right up. It's easy. One thing that you'll notice that I did as a modification, I did this a long time ago, is I cut the top of my my raising and lowering bracket that normally comes up and extends out a little bit further. Because of the weight of this motor and because that thing is so long, if you get it kicked over to the side and you pull down on it, it tends to bend it. So the fact that I shortened it up makes it a little stiffer. I still have all the leverage that I need to raise the motor up, and it clears the power pole so that I don't have to move the motor even further back. So literally all we did here is cut this off with a hacksaw and then rounded it off with a belt sander and then finished it with a finishing sander. Put it back on there, drilled a new hole in it, and all I did here is use these Night Eyes carabiners, and I ran the raising and lowering cord. The one tricky thing that I had to come up with is the boat has these stock holes that are here for mounting side plates. And so what I did is I just used a 1/4-20 threaded shaft and screwed them until they bottomed out. And then I just used 2 YakAttack vertical tie downs. And what that does is that keeps that line from rubbing on anything. So my steering cables don't have any rub, and my raising and lowering don't have any rub. And what that does is makes it really easy for me to raise and lower. It doesn't kick it off to one side. And so instead of using the stock steering carabiners, I wanted something a little more lightweight and something that didn't bind up. So I used these really small carabiners from the folks at Night Eyes. Again, I'll link them up in the description box. And then I use this one here without the pulley that just simply is a 2-action carabiner. So you basically put it on there, clip it through, keeps that cord from coming back through, and then you just clip it to your motor system just like so. Makes it easy to raise, easy to lower. And guys, the only other thing that I really did to this boat to modify it is I'm going to bring it around to this side and give you a couple of little examples. Is instead of using the instead of using the double header, I actually just mounted 2 of the Roto Grip parking pole holders directly to the track, and so I can stick my measuring board in there and lock it in place. And then the other thing that I did, and this is huge, especially if you're a big dude like me, the seat comes with these bolts with the screw on the inside. These nuts are on the inside, and the bolt head is sticking through, so it tends to rub and tear your leg up. And this rod holder is actually on the back, is on the front when it comes stock. So if you'll notice, what I did here is I actually took the seat frame apart. I put the rod stager in the back. What that allows me to do is stick the rod handle on there, lay it on the stock bar, or I can stick it in the rod holder tip protector, put it on there just like so, lock that in place, and that rod is not going anywhere. So if I need to go under a bridge, or if I have a couple of extra rods above and beyond what I have on rod holders, or if I just want to have that throw bike rod ready and I don't want to inadvertently hit it with my knee and knock it out of the boat, moving that rod stager to the back, flipping the bolt heads on the seat, and adding the kayak cushion will completely change your comfort experience with this boat. And honestly, that's it. That's the modifications that I made. Let me talk to you real quick about kind of the things that I tell people all the time. Before you scrape your money together and buy a boat, it's an acronym that I use: stability, comfort, riggability, reliability, affordability, performance, and then everything else. So, stability. This boat is the most stable boat that I've ever been in for its performance, meaning the combination of initial stability, which is pretty good, but you do have some wobble so that the boat is not a slug in the water. But then when it gets to that secondary stability, I mean, when it gets there, it freaking, right there, it sticks. It ain't going anywhere. So you've got the perfect combination, the best combination, in my opinion, of any boat that I've ever been in, of secondary, initial and secondary stability. So if you're thinking about, is it stable enough? You don't have to think about it anymore. If it's stable enough for my fat butt, it's stable enough for you. The one thing early on that I was a little bit concerned about is the seat is so high that when you start reaching down to the water, it takes a minute to get used to it. But once you really get used to it, I mean, you can just lean down and reach into the water, grab a fish, grab a rod if it falls over the side. You don't have anything to worry about. The stability of this boat is, without question, one of the best, if not the best I've ever been in, okay? Comfort. Throw this kayak cushion on here, set your seat up, get rid of the screw heads rubbing on your leg, set your seat back up a little bit more vertical, and then set your pedals to where your feet are actually dropping down like you are in a chair, and you don't have them out in front of you trying to steer with your whole leg. And this will be the most comfortable kayak you've ever sat in your life, guaranteed. Riggability, guys, listen, you just saw all the rigging in the world, and I can configure and reconfigure this boat with all of the tracks that are on it, with all the different mounting locations. The PowerLink system from the folks at Big Adventures is freaking genius. So from a riggability standpoint, this is the best fishing kayak I've ever seen, from the standpoint of being able to rig it and re-rig it and re-rig it and adjust it, and all the options that it gives you for, you know, forward propulsion, stern propulsion, dual propulsion, all of those things. And so when it comes to riggability, hands down, the best boat out there I've ever been in. And again, I'm biased. You know, I'm a Bonafide guy through and through, but this boat is legitimately the best boat I've been in ever in my entire fishing kayak career, other than the fact that I really love the river for rivers, but that's a whole different thing. But this is the best lake and all-around fishing kayak I've ever been in. Reliability. Bonafide makes their boats bulletproof. They have industry-leading warranty. You don't have to worry about reliability. Skid plates where you need them, reinforcement where you need it. So from a reliability standpoint, nothing you're ever gonna have to worry about. All right, so affordability. Honestly, for $18.99, I think this boat is the best value proposition on the market because you can buy this boat and go fishing without doing anything to it, and then you can add to it as you need to, but it comes with damn near everything you need. In fact, I think that should be the slogan for this boat. The Bonafide PWR 129, damn near everything you need. But you can add more to it if you want. So this boat, in my opinion, is the best value for what you get, for what you pay on the market. Performance. Okay, so performance, in my opinion, is based on what you're using it for. So I've gotten feedback on folks using bow mounts. I've used both the Torqeedo and the Newport vessel, and I've paddled it. All around performance for a boat this big, this stable, that motorizes well because, again, the seat has been brought forward, so there's more volume in the stern, so it doesn't squat and kind of run, you know, like it's a boat that can't get up on plane. It moves very easy, very effortless, and that also works out great if you ever have a problem or you just want to paddle the boat. For as big as this boat is, it paddles like a dream. Actually, no, it paddles like a dream irregardless of how big it is, but for as big as it is, it really paddles like a dream. And it's the reason that I choose this boat over, you know, a bigger boat like a Pro Angler or a Titan X or a, you know, some of those boats that are bigger and harder to paddle. The everything else, it's a little heavy, okay? So if you're gonna take it to a boat ramp with all this gear on it, you're gonna either need a trailer to back it down, or you're gonna need a cart like the Yak Attack bar cart or something along those lines. Storage, it's a big boat. You're gonna need a rack system, some space in your garage, or just leave it on the trailer and park it that way. Again, there's not a lot of everything else to think about. I've covered most of it. But from the standpoint of bow performance, stern performance, stability, paddleability, affordability, I consider this boat the best value proposition on the market for a fishing kayak. You can get it basic and fish it a couple of years. You can fish it a couple months. You can fish it a couple days and then start making it yours with all the accessories from all the great manufacturers out there, especially the folks at Yak Attack. All right, guys, that's my full walkthrough of the Bonafide PWR 129. About to take this thing fishing and put it through the paces yet another day or night. And y'all do me a favor, if you have any more questions or things that I didn't cover, just drop them in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And I'm about to have a race with a duck boat who, that's the only guy on the lake that can go where I can go in this boat. But I can also go a lot of places that he can't go. I just hope we're not going to the same spot right now, because I got some fish pinned up that I'm ready to punch in the mouth. Hey y'all, listen, North Alabama really is a place where fishing dreams come true. From top-notch guides to diverse fisheries to breathtaking scenery, head down to North Alabama where you can reel in the adventure of a lifetime. And they're discover unparalleled access to pristine waters loaded with everything from crappie to catfish to bass. So whether you're looking to load your cooler or catch a trophy, plan your next adventure by heading over to NorthAlabama.org.